Live. Welcome to the Deal Champs podcast. We have an awesome guest on today, our good friend Michael Zuber. And today's topic is one of my favorite topics because it's macroeconomics, how it's all going to tie into real estate. Real quick, some quick housekeeping things. What is Deal Champs? Our mission at Deal Champs is to empower and inspire listeners by highlighting real-life deals from people across the nation. We'll also be doing interviews with amazing people like Mike of different entrepreneurs and experts in their field. We aim to provide valuable insights and action steps for people in our audience to actually implement in their own businesses. Real quick, let's give Mike a quick intro. Michael Zuber is the host of One Rental at a Time YouTube channel. He has a 200-unit rental portfolio. What else? He's an amazing. Even before he left his 9-to-5 job, his 9-to-5 job was leading massive sales teams to roll out new tech products, and I think that's really, really underestimated as far as what he had to do in that space. He is a master. You're the dude who I go to for finance info, as far as like macroeconomics, like finance. I listen to your YouTube channel every day, and then I listen to All In, or like the two places I go to like find out what do I need to know.
Yeah, so to be lumped in with All In podcast is an amazing honor. I appreciate that. Thank you.
And so Michael Zuber, the amazing host of One Rental at a Time. And then we have Mr. Dean Rogers. Give yourself a quick intro, Dino.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. One of your co-hosts here, Dean Rogers. My story, I transitioned from the NFL to corporate, then to real estate. Been investing in real estate now for just about a decade in Central California. Done over 500 deals. Have a rental portfolio, almost $10 million. And coaching students how to get started in real estate, how to create successful businesses. If you guys want to connect, you guys can go to deanrogers.com. And I could not be more excited about today's topic as well.
Jason, the master of hair.
Hey guys, this is Jason Pritchard, your other co-host. Backstory on me, I was in corporate America for 15 or 16 years. Totally burned out, went all in real estate in 2014 and haven't looked back. We flipped and wholesaled hundreds of houses. We own about 100 rentals in real estate. Absolutely changed my life. And I know my goal and our goal on this podcast, Zuber included, is to try to transfer the skills and the things that we have to you guys so you guys can have some of the same experiences that we do. So really excited for today's topic. Zuber and I connect on a regular basis, and he is definitely a wealth of knowledge when it comes to this topic, man. So this should be a good one.
Yeah, what people may not realize is Jason Pritchard is one of the 15 chapters in my second book, 15 Conversations with Real Estate Millionaires. He is in that, his story of going all in, burning the boat, his support of his wife, Jen. It was so powerful that it made the cut for that second book of mine. So thank you for that, Jason.
There you go. Appreciate you, buddy.
My name is Stratton Brown. I'm your moderator and co-host. We own a 7-figure portfolio of notes and self-storage. We have a virtual assistant company. We do coach people on how to do your first couple deals in real estate. And real estate changed my life. I came from absolutely having no skills and worked for an amazing investor named Alan Folio. And that changed my life. I don't know where I would have been if I didn't go into real estate. And then, Mike, let's hear a quick intro from you.
Yeah, so my story kind of documented in my book, One Rental at a Time. I was the tech worker, right? I got a college degree. I got a master's degree. I was playing in the stock market in 99 and 2000. I successfully turned $7,000 into almost 200, only to lose 80% of that in the dot-com crash. Lots of people listening to this may have lost money in the stock market or the crypto market over the last couple of years. I feel you. I've done that. What I did with that after exiting is I went to a bookstore. Yes, I am that old. I went to a bookstore and read Rich Dad Poor Dad. It changed my life, set me on a new trajectory. Like many of the people watching this, I live in an expensive part of the world. However, everybody told me I got to buy in my backyard, buy in your backyard, buy in your backyard. Doesn't make sense in the Silicon Valley. So lo and behold, after wasting a year, I found Fresno, California, and the rest has been history. But I did this 22 years now. So I bought before the crash. I repositioned our portfolio before it all fell apart. I was in Fresno when Fresno collapsed 75%. So when people talk about a housing crash, I have been there, profited, saved. So, I made moves before, during, and after. A lot of these idiots talking about housing crash do not know what they're talking about. I have successfully, danced through raindrops many times because I look at my market every day. I do the work every day. I network every day. I don't just sit on the couch and, watch Netflix all day or whatever. So I'm very active and still active after 23 years.
No Netflix and chill
This take.
for Zuber?
Yeah.
No, we just chill. We don't have to tease ourselves with Netflix.
Mike, what's your hottest take of what's going on right now? Like everything that you see going on, what's something that you don't think anybody's gonna quite agree with?
I think there's a lot. I think we are absolutely in a banking crisis. I think consumer confidence has been dented. I in fact think the consumer has been hit so hard by all the noise in the media that it's going to cause a recession. If you would have asked me 3 weeks ago, I would have said a recession is 2024. It's coming, but delayed, slower than people think. I think the Silicon Valley catastrophe, bailout, nonsense, all of that, Janet Yellen, the president, getting on TV saying everything is fine, scared people to death. They're moving money around. They're not buying cars. We saw, new inventory on car lots expand. So I think a recession is coming as soon as Q2. And I think the consumer is scared. So I think it's coming really fast. The other thing I think that is very counterintuitive for folks is everybody wants this crisis to be like the Great Recession, because housing, individual single-family homes went down 75% in a market that we all know went down in most markets across the country. I got bad news for you. It's not coming. We got an existing home sales yesterday that was up 14.5%, went from 4 to 4.5 million month to month. We now have empirical, unquestionable evidence that interest rates matter. And if we do get rates going down to 6, it pulls demand off the sidelines. Unfortunately, the Fed broke housing, and we will not get supply back in any meaningful way until rates get to 4. So what does this all mean? That means, A, we're not going back to 4. That means we're operating in an environment where listings will be below trend, where getting a first-time home is going to be hard. And if rates come in like we are going into a recession, it only brings demand, doesn't bring supply. So just play with the simple economics. Demand up, supply constant. Guess what happens? So I think there's a lot going on. And then finally, I think the opportunity in front of myself and the three of you and other professionals is bigger. And I don't say that with any extra emphasis. I believe this. It's bigger than what was the Great Recession, because the asset types that are going to be in the greatest pain is commercial. I look forward to buying the biggest and perhaps the 2 biggest buildings in the next 12 to 24 months than we've ever bought. That's exciting. And if it does go the way I think it will, just like in my first book, One Rental at a Time, I will 1031 out of all my houses into big ass apartments. We could go from 200 to 800, 1,000. If we could. I don't know that we will, but we could, because I think the opportunity coming is in commercial. The regional banks are 50% of the market. Their loan book is terrible. They're going to ratchet down on lending. It's going to be wonderful for the prepared, the ones with track record in history. And I'm ecstatic for what's coming. It's bigger, but very different than most people think.
Zuber, can you give us some insight?
1 minute, Jason. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Right. We have all these people. Submit your deals at dealchamps. What is it? Do you know?
Yeah, so if you guys want to get your deals highlighted on the podcast, you guys can go to deanrogers.com/podcast. It'll take you right to a Google form, submit all your information, and we'd love to have you on and highlight you during the podcast.
And then as well, if you're on YouTube or the podcast app, go give us a 5-star review, hit that like, subscribe button. Don't forget to follow us all, One Rental at a Time. If you aren't familiar with them, everybody who's watching this should be. Honestly, I think everybody in the real estate market watches Mike's YouTube channel, at least in Central California for sure. And then if you are on StreamYard on Facebook, if you could put that link up so we could see their names. We love the interaction. Let us know where you're watching from. Let us know who you are. We love interaction with you guys. Mike, I think you do an amazing job interacting with your audience as well.
Yeah, we want to interact with you guys during this podcast. We want to see what your questions are. We want to see your feedback on what we're talking about. This is an extremely important conversation today, and that's why we brought on the best person we know. And even if we didn't know Zuber personally, we didn't know, like, and trust him, his credibility is like through the roof, and we're so fortunate to have him in our circle of friends and business partners. So we're really excited to get in this topic. We want to hear your thoughts and opinions. It makes it more fun when we can see who it is. So go to streamer.com/Facebook.
All right, that's your question. Sorry, Jason.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
Zuber, I thought you brought up a huge point, right? And I know a lot of our audience kind of skews towards the newer side, right? So can you give us maybe unpack where that opportunity is coming in the commercial space, right? How, like, what kind of led up to this problem that you're seeing, and then how maybe other investors can potentially take advantage of it?
Yeah, so maybe I should start with the single family market, because again, I think the lion's share of people equate what might be coming with what just happened, right? Kind of recency bias. So let's remind people quickly that don't remember, back in 2006, loan origination had 50% of loans were adjustable rate mortgages. You can look this up, St. Louis Fed, it's public information. Just type in Google search, go nuts. So 2006, loan origination, half the loans are ARMs. Most of those were 2 years. So guess what happens in 2008? These ARMs start to reset. They reset much higher. The lending standards sucked. So people started walking away from properties, the foreclosures. And oh, by the way, we had 4 or 5 years of a slow grind down. So San Francisco. So Fresno collapsed 75%. It wasn't a day. It wasn't a week. It wasn't a month. It wasn't even a year. It was over a 4 or 5 year trajectory. So the first point, when housing adjusts, it is much slower than these crash bros talk about. That's the first point. When you look at real estate, whether it's office, retail, warehouse, multifamily, single family, mobile homes, it's always the debt. It is always the debt, people. It is always the debt. So the debt was adjustable, short term, it reset, catastrophe. So translate that to today. The last couple of years, the risk-free rate of return was essentially zero. We have large institutions, large investors that have to have returns to pay pensions, pay insurance policies, do all of these things. We had more and more people not spending money, so there was trillions of dollars sloshing around our economy. People were chasing returns. When people chase return, prices go up, cap rates come down, lending standards loosen. So what happened over the last 18 months is we saw multifamily, specifically a place I look at, have unrealistic debt. What does that mean? Short term. It's called bridge debt. 1, 2 years, interest only. If you have to do a deal in multifamily with interest only bridge debt, that should be a
crazy,
red flag.
Man. That's scary.
Stupid. Just
So
call it what
scary.
it is.
I know 2 dudes right now who are bleeding from putting themselves in situations like that.
They're done.
Like,
That's
awful.
scary, man.
It's over. So that happened. Then one of the reasons I still speak at meetups is because I want to know what the audience is doing. So I went to a meetup in Silicon Valley. Money, right? Lots of people got money. And everybody in the audience didn't want to hear about one rental at a time. They wanted to hear about syndications and apartments and this, that, the other thing.
They want to hear about 200 rentals at a time.
Yeah, exactly. So I came out after that saying, red flag. We got all these. There was a guy in the audience who had never done a deal, who talked about some Oklahoma City apartment building, knew nothing about it. I mean, I asked him 5 questions. And I'm like, you're a moron. You've probably never seen this property. But he had millions of dollars lined up to lend him because everybody wanted to be a part of this. So this is the stupidity and nonsense that happened. Prices go up, cap rates go down. Cap rates went down to 3.5% when risk was 0. We've all now seen an aggressive Fed take rates from 0 to 4.5. They're likely going to go to 4 3/4 today, probably 5% in May. 5% in May, risk-free rate of return is a hell of a lot more than 3.5. So what is happening today? Cap rates are going up. Values are crashing. Debt is resetting. Rates are up. It's just a complete and utter chaos. So to Jason's question, the opportunity is in commercial because it's the debt. When the debt gets reset, when there is a hard date, it forces changes. Now, some banks may extend and pretend, but many will close. They'll change owners, all of that. Why is it not resi? Residential financing coming into 2022 was 98% 30-year fixed. Black Knight is reported as high as 90% of loans are below 5%. 99% of loans are below 6%. It's not coming, folks. I'm sorry. The crash bros have always been wrong. They're just a bunch of idiots in their mom's basement who want to get paid ad revenue so they can buy their own home. They tricked you. They got you. Ha ha.
My question is, in my opinion, I feel like the Fed had no other option but to bail out Silicon Valley Bank. Like,
No,
and I
I
don't really
disagree.
consider it a bailout as
Oh,
far
it's
as
absolutely a
the deposits.
bailout. You're
Like the
clearly wrong.
deposits, bro.
It's a bailout.
Like, so if
What about
me
your
and
buddy
you put our
Newsom
money
getting a
into bank-
bailout?
First off, he's not my buddy. He actually went to the same college I did. I call him King.
Yeah.
He's not the governor. He's
King
the king
Newsom.
of California, so I'm not a fan. It was absolutely without question a bailout. We actually have historical precedents for what they should have done. Sheila Bair, who was in charge of the FDIC, had a much better plan for a bank called IndyMac. Folks, go do your own research. So let's remind you of what happened at IndyMac and why it was very similar to Silicon Valley Bank and why the government made a mistake. So first off, the FDIC has a perfect track record of paying back depositors below 250. So let's dispel that risk. If you have less than 250 grand, you're money good. Just remove that from your equation. However, the rules since the Great Recession have been, if you have over 250 grand in one bank account, that is at risk. It's not a secret. It's public information. Everybody should know this. So what happened at IndyMac? Traditionally speaking, the FDIC is very good at what they do, and they have early warnings of potential bank failures. So what happens that the average person doesn't see is they are shopping for buyers weeks and months in advance. So that's why Washington Mutual got bought by JP Morgan. That's why Countrywide went to Bank of America. That's why all of these things happened so quickly, because they were shopping them for months. Okay, now IndyMac's story. Chuck Schumer, and if I'm wrong about this, I apologize, some politician said something that caused a run on the bank on IndyMac that the FDIC wasn't ready for. So on Wednesday, Chuck says something. On Friday, they got to close the bank. They weren't ready. No, they didn't shop it. They didn't tease it. They have no buyers lined up. What happened on Monday? First, everybody below 250 grand was money good. Again, perfect track record. Everybody good. But what happened on Monday? What was unique? What should have happened at Silicon Valley Bank is Sheila Bair came out and said, you know what? We're going to give 50% of the deposits over 250 available on Monday. Because you're right, payrolls, all these things that should have happened.
I was like, man, that's a lot of payroll in that.
No, I get it. Bank. Give them 50. And I actually came out on Saturday before Sunday and said I would be comfortable going up to 80%. But they should not have, in my opinion, done 100. Either we have rules or we don't have rules. I am tired of socializing pain, right? Capitalism works. Get rich, get wealthy, but when a mistake happens, everybody gets bailed out. I fucking hate that. So I would have been good up to 80. If you want to bend me, prod me and get 85, fine. But there should have been losses. The rules were clear. It was a bailout. It may go down as the biggest bailout ever. I haven't done the math, but it was a bailout. Absolutely.
It was a huge influx of cash. But then my thing is like, okay, what happens if they did 50? I feel like then that would destroy, like that would instantly cause a recession.
So again, I think 50 would have been the wrong number in this case. But I would tell you 100 was wrong. I thought 80 was a good go-between. If you wanted to say 85, there should have been pain. The fact that there wasn't pain was an unfortunate mistake, in my opinion.
All right. Fair enough. Let's go to some of these comments, Dino. We're getting some good interaction.
Yeah, we're loaded on some comments here. So let's scroll up to the top here.
Kathy Fields, is that a joke?
Yeah. Do we agree with the banking bailout?
I think you can clearly see I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you have honestly very valid points. I'm on board with the 85 because I think you can eat the 85 and it's not the end of the world. And like you said, there's still pain. Claude Mitchell, good afternoon. Someone trending topics, the realtor from Orate, they love you. And Michael, someone says we're always dropping that fire. Hey, Jim, thanks for all the great content. Where would you suggest to look for larger multifamily properties online and LoopNet? We can cover that one at the end, but I'd tell you now going direct to seller is the way to go for all the multifamily stuff, or like really talking to brokers and schmoozing them is the best way you're going to get it. If it hits LoopNet, it's not a deal. Hey, someone lives in their basement. They don't appreciate your comments, Michael.
There's a couple comments in here about unemployment. So here's another one here. Can we please talk about unemployment, where you see it going in the next 6 to 12 months? How does that impact the single family home market? Is it the latest Crash Bro fear campaign? Zuber loves this one.
Clearly. So again, I think without question, unemployment goes up. Unemployment, the last read was 3.6. I think so 6 and 12 months. So 6 months, what is it? This is March. So that's September. So I think unemployment clearly could be 4.5% by September, maybe 4.6. I think unemployment could easily top out 5.3, 5.4 in a year. I think there's millions of people that are going to lose their job. I think a lot of them get other jobs, but I think the unemployment rate is sub 6% in a year, probably sub 5.5. I'm sorry, sub 5.5 in a year. So up a lot. I've seen the Crash Bros. They're talking about a tripling of unemployment rate. If you guys haven't figured out these idiots are self-serving, trying to get you to click on their videos, you're not paying attention. When do you guys stop watching this nonsense? They've been wrong for like 8 years, and their story always changes. I mean, really. I mean, when are you going to stop feeding them? I promise you, if you stop watching, they'll stop making.
Well, I have one for you. Mike, that dude who just predicted that Bitcoin's going to go to $1 million in 90 days because the banking.
I saw that. Well, he actually said it was, he
put
said
$2 million down. Yeah.
So he's calling for hyperinflation in 90 days in Bitcoin to $1 million. I'm going to wild ass guess it that he has a something else in play that's going to pay him a lot more than the $2 million he's put at risk.
I mean, the dude's worth like this. He's worth 100 million at least, I think. Like he's done a lot of stuff. But then, do you think hyperinflation is going to, like, with all these bank runs? I think the consumer now is more afraid of the banks than ever. Towards now, like, it just used to be the bank, bro. Like, your money just goes there. Now, like, everybody's lost faith. Even though they won't be affected because of FDIC stuff, I think everybody's lost faith.
So you're talking out of both sides of your mouth. So you ask me about hyperinflation, and then you tell me the consumer is scared. You can't have both. I'm confused. Because so again, play it out. Let's play economics.
I think the consumer is really, really scared. What the other guy calling the hyperinflation.
What does the consumer do when they're scared? Stratton, what does the consumer do when they're scared?
They don't pull back.
They peel back. They don't do anything. They conserve. Does that sound inflationary to you? 101.
So you don't think anything's going to happen?
Well, I don't. I'm not sure. There's going to be a lot of stuff happen. So let's also define hyperinflation, because that is a buzzword, a term that lights people on fire. Do you know the technical definition of hyperinflation? 20% a month. So I ask you, is the United States of America, the reserve currency of the world, going to have 20% inflation a month? All right, well, then let's stop talking about it.
Yeah, it would be hard to see that.
There we go. What do you got next?
So we got another comment here regarding the bank bailout. So David Yang's got a couple comments. They didn't make a mistake. The reason why they bailed out Silicon Valley Bank big time is because politicians, investment bankers are the same conceptually. They're in bed together. Newsom is an investment banker. Also says Newsom had money, connection, resources, donors, industry incentive, resources tied to. I mean, there's just so much tied into this. I've said this before. Like, we know what's going on. I mean, these are, behind closed doors, handshake deals, special circumstances that happen for these kind of people.
Yeah. So again, I want to go back to David's point. If I read it correctly, I do think they made a mistake. The fact that the power, the 1% or the 1% of the 1% get all these special favors. If you're not calling that a mistake or wrong, I'm not sure what we're doing here. We can understand it, and it can still be wrong. Both of those things can be true.
Got another good one here. I think we should make everyone whose 3% mortgages on the Fed's balance sheet, or if the lender dumps them on the Fed's balance, make them refi. Why should we socialize everyone's low mortgages?
I mean, if you're trying to create, I don't know how to respond to that.
I agree. Let's stop socializing the losses and privatizing the profits.
Works for me. I'm okay with that.
Mike, do you see a big call and all these people doing sub twos with all these banks having really low rates, and like they try and catch them?
So again, sub two, which I'll just lump into creative financing, just so we incorporate all of that. I think creative financing is going to be very popular the next couple of years. I do think sub two specifically has a right way and wrong way to do it. I think most people, given my history with them, will shortcut it and do it the wrong way, which will create lots of problems and risks. I think people think it is too easy. I just think people don't want to do the work. They just don't. They want it easy. They want the easy button. I look at my market every day for 23 years. I wrote 100 offers in 2021. It's a daily it's hardwired. It is a superpower. I get it. I'm lucky. But you just can't sit around and hope money rains on your head. That's not how this is supposed to work. So my true belief is sub two or creative financing is amazing when done right. I think there's going to be a lot of people peddling gobbledygook, and they're going to hurt people.
A couple other comments in here. Guys, I'm a first-time home buyer in the Northeast with $250,000 in available capital for a down payment. The housing market here is hell. No one is building and inventory sucks. What's your recommendation?
Well, I mean, I've been telling everybody for the last couple of months, the first-time home buyer home is hot. I don't know that market at all. The one thing I would tell people, first-time home buyers, that they probably never have done is I would network off market I wouldn't necessarily as a home buyer do off market mailers and, virtual assistants and all of that, but I would go to wholesalers in that market, go to meetups, because you three combined, I'm going to wild ass guess it, spend $100,000 a month outreaching. You are going to find deals off market. Some of those you don't want to deal. There's not enough margin on the bone, but all of you have a way to, get a finder's fee or get a 3% or do something. So you get a return on your ad dollar and you help a buyer. So if I was a first-time home buyer, I don't know anything about their market and I can't find anything on the MLS, I would get off my ass, I would get comfortable, and I would go network with every wholesaler I could find. That's what I would do. Most home buyers don't think that way. They want to look on the MLS. They want their realtor to drive them around in their BMW. Sorry, the market sucks. Builders can't build. I know it's hard. This is the hardest market in my 23 years to be a first-time home buyer. I get it. If you want it, do something else.
It's a good point. And I think how do I actually take action on that? You mentioned one of them. Go to meetups. Go to local real estate investing meetups. Go network. If you really want a house, go talk to people who are finding houses at a discount, direct to seller, off the market, no one else knows about, and tell them, I'm looking for a primary residence. Chances are you're going to pay more than an investor, right? Even if it's just a small amount, that's going to be exciting for that person who has deals, and you can now put a deal together. And you could also go to Facebook groups, just like the Facebook groups that we're streaming to right now. Type into Facebook, real estate investing meetup, and whatever area you're in, you're going to find groups, especially if you're in the Northeast. There's tons of, real estate investors, people that are creating groups. You can find people in there as well. So
tell everybody your buy box. Everybody should be telling what you're looking for. Don't go to a wholesaler and say, I'm looking for a deal.
Yeah.
No, go to a wholesaler and say, I'm looking to buy my primary residence. It's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 2,000 square feet in this school district, around this area, like this, like that. Take the work off the wholesaler. So that's what I would tell somebody. And again, I don't know this gentleman's market at all. So it's just generic advice.
It's going to bring you a way better house than you get with the realtor. You're still going to get into a good house, and then that wholesaler is going to be happy because they would be able to offload it anyways.
That's what I would do.
Yep. James says, thanks for the advice. Absolutely, man. Yeah. Do the work, as Zuber says. Get out there, go meet some people, and you'll find deals. We just had a property we brought to the market a week ago. It's 2 acres out in the country. It's a manufactured home. And we put on the market at 229. We have it in escrow sold at 265. No appraisal contingencies. We have appraisal gap if that happens, covered, right? And it's a 30-day escrow. So we're making $115,000 net on that deal and sold it over asking. And that's entry-level price point, simple finishes, clean house, nothing spectacular, but hot, on fire.
That's awesome. Jason, you have any questions before I ask another one? Before I get asked all the questions.
Well, I think the conversations that Zuber and I have, I know our lane is kind of single family stuff. And I actually think we all kind of feel a little bit bullish on that. You know what I mean? Like, I know that there's going to be pain on it, but at least on the investing side specifically, right? There's a lot of opportunity for people that can control inventory that's geared for first and second time home buyers, whether you're selling to the actual end buyer or you're selling to the investor. So I think because there's just no inventory and then transactions are down, I know, Zuber, you said like, hey, that's going to be the space that you're playing. And I know we all operate in that space. So if you're new, I think it can be hard to separate all this negative noise around the banks and the economy and all these things and just focus on where that opportunity is at, right? And I still think that, at least in our market, it's there for you if you want to grab it.
So Zuber, I got a question for you. And then I see another question here that's a really good one I want to bring up next. So you had mentioned that you see opportunities coming in multifamily. Now, all of us on this podcast right now, maybe for the exception of Stratton, who has some investments in storage, outside of Central California, we're all super hyper focused in Central California. We know that market. That's where we continue to reinvest. We're not getting distracted by shiny objects and trying to be an expert somewhere else that we haven't spent decade, investing our time, effort, and money and getting skilled at. When you say you want to buy a multifamily, is it still in Central California, or are you willing to open up, take the blinders off, and look in other places and invest?
I'm very fortunate to be in the latter half of my investing career. I see no reason to add risk, complexity, or frankly, work. I spend a ridiculously little amount of time in my portfolio that I have. So no, Central Valley, and I'd be very clear, it's Madera or Fresno, not Coalinga, not, Tulare. It is either Madera, which is it's a community I love, a little bedroom community, or Fresno proper. That's it. That's all I'm shopping in.
Doing anything as far as talking to brokers, like commercial brokers?
Just started. Yeah. Just started 60 days ago. Started reaching back out. Cause I bought deals direct from brokers. I bought a deal right from a bank one time. So I've started that outreach process. Yes.
Nice. I like this question a lot right here. I have a 2.25% on my primary. Congratulations to you. That's incredible.
Yeah.
The only one that's better I've heard of, I'm sorry, it's actually not better. My brother-in-law, he has 2.3, and it's insane. But anyways, pains me to see present interest rates for investment properties, which is stopping me from investing. How do I overcome, this?
The simple reality is I don't give a rat's ass what the cost of capital is. It's one variable on the spreadsheet. It's probably, I don't want to say it's the least important, but it's certainly on the bottom. Everybody, the thing about interest rate is unless you're a cash buyer, everybody pays roughly the same rate. So it's a great equalizer. It's not like Jason can get 4 because his name's Jason and Michael gets an 8 because his name's Michael. Everybody's roughly the same. So an interest rate on an investment property is a great equalizer. And I just run the numbers. Doesn't matter. I've done deals as high as 12%. It just doesn't matter. It's the cost of capital. Always get 30-year fixed rate debt. because you can only get money good, right? If rates go down, you can refi later, but you're not at risk. ARMs are what blow things up. Debt blows up. If you're stuck on your primary being 2.25 and you can't get behind it, 8% mortgage, you're not going anywhere. 8% doesn't matter. 9% doesn't matter. 10% doesn't matter. Run the math, figure out average, and only buy great deals. It's very simple. Rate doesn't bother me. I don't even think about it.
I like this next question here. We've discussed the upcoming commercial market issues. What do you guys see on the horizon for single family nationally, say 5 to 10 years out? I feel like you've talked about it, Michael. I feel like I feel, not that I've done the same research as you, that the market is going to be good for single family simply from a supply and demand standpoint. That's the biggest thing. Where do you see this going in 5 to 10 years? Is an imminent crash coming to single family? Is it going to happen? Is it going to take a black swan event? Like, how does a crash happen? The people that have been waiting on the sidelines, I'm not going to buy real estate till it crashes 2008. I'm going to get filthy rich. What do you say to those people? Is it going to ever happen? Are we going to see a big dip, or is it just not going to happen?
So my general prediction at this point is, and again, I've gone back all the way to the 70s. I've done deep analysis all the way back to 1970 across all kinds of economic metrics. What I would tell you today is affordability is a problem. There's no question about it. The only year that was worse was 1981. So being in the bottom 5% of affordability is not a good thing. It's not a recipe for going to the moon. So that said, I think generally speaking, we had a decade of appreciation in 2 years. So the next 8 years in single family, again, nationally speaking, is basically boring, flat, plus or minus 1%, 2%, 3%. We're not back to 8%, 9%. It's unhealthy. What we really need to have is we need to have rates stabilize, generally go down. We basically need 8 years of wage inflation.
What do you think is a stabilized rate? Because what do you think is a stabilized interest rate? Because wouldn't you argue, if you look over time, at least from what I've glanced at, we're kind of in the average right now, aren't we?
We are, but I mean, the economy is in a vastly different picture than it was, 10, 20, 30 years ago. I think rates need to be in the fives, probably 5 to 6.
Okay.
That's where I see long-term rates the next 5 to 7 years. But yeah, there's World War III, 15% unemployment. Well, let's talk about unemployment, because again, somebody said earlier that's the crash bros. Let's just play this out logically. Let's say Jerome Powell and the Fed really break something, and we go from 3.6% unemployment to 10% in 6 months. So by December 31st of this year, we are at 10% unemployment. What I would tell you is, if we are at 10% unemployment for a year or two, that could be a housing crash. That could be enough distress, enough built up in pre-foreclosure. That could be a problem. But can anybody with a half intellectually honest not tell all of us what happens if unemployment spikes to 10%? What is the very first thing the Fed does if out of the blue we suddenly have 10% unemployment? What do they do? I ask you, what do they do?
Do they print more money or what?
They cut rates immediately.
Cut rates.
Back to zero. And then guess what happens?
It's the same. Yeah. The roller coaster ride up to the top again. Yeah.
So what could cause a housing crash? World War III, clearly, like troops on American soil, problem. 10% unemployment for 24 months in a row, problem. Gosh.
So I want to talk about unemployment
banks.
real quick, because I think one of the things that we saw that was obvious was a huge hiring frenzy for the past several years as most of the world was shut down and tech was booming, right? Especially the service tech type companies. So naturally, the Amazons, the Googles, all those different people were hiring like crazy. Well, when the market starts to stabilize and kind of go back, and that same pent-up demand isn't there, of course they have to make cuts.
Yeah,
so I feel like there's no surprise to me when I think about that they have to have layoffs because the demand doesn't meet the amount of employees they had.
Yeah. So again, I live in the Valley. I told people it's coming. There's going to be round 2, round 3, and maybe even round 4 layoffs at these companies. They overhire. But here's the deal. These tech companies are front and center for the media. So Amazon yesterday, the day before, announced 9,000. Do you guys realize that tech, all inclusive, is 2% of the employment base of America?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't freaking matter. And oh, by the way, I live in the Valley. I've known people impacted by this. They had another job in 3 days. Now, it wasn't as well paid. It didn't have as good benefits, but it's not like they're on the streets in bread lines. They got another job, at least thus far. So again, tech gets headlines. It swings above its weight class for whatever reason. It just doesn't matter in the big scheme of things. Now, if you're a Silicon Valley-based real estate agent, good luck. It's going to be rough.
Yeah.
But again, that is such a small footprint. It just doesn't matter in the big scheme of things, in my opinion.
So what? And I can't put this together in my head. What has to happen to increase like that wage inflation? So I kind of stabilize things.
I think wage inflation is going to take off all by itself. I think it's something that it's a self-fulfilling prophecy that just builds on itself. I think we've already had it. And I think once that momentum starts, it won't stop. I believe we will have wage inflation at or near 5% for the next 2 or 3 years. And I think that is wonderful. The CEOs, the powers that be, have taken too much of the profits for too long. I think the employee gets theirs probably for the next 3, could be for the next 5, very much like the 70s and the 80s. I think it's a wonderful thing. I think it's net positive for the economy, but it is inflationary. And that's why the last 4% of inflation will be hard to beat.
So this question I really like, and I've been begging to ask you this question, Zuber. So I'll piggyback off of this question, but how do you guys think social media will play a role in the economic downturn? We're in an instant culture now, glued to our phones, vastly different 2008. Do you figure that there's more information, people are more in tune with what's going on and have access to information to where the recovery is going to be quicker? Now, I'll piggyback before you ask or answer that question. I'm curious what it felt. Were you were investing in 2008, 9, all during the crash? Right?
I had. Yeah.
You pivoted to the commercial. Yeah, that's all part of your story. So for me, I'm really curious what it felt like. Right now, the past, let's call it 6 months, we're in spring Q1 of 2023. The second half of 2022, a lot of people felt pain. The market was slowing down. A bit of a shift in the market, we'll just call it, right? Some people, I fortunately did not feel pain. In December, I felt some pain, just from slow amount of closes, but came out rip-roaring in Q1 of 23. My question is, what did that feel like during that time? Were you stressed? Was it painful? Was it slow moving, kind of like it has been now, where it's kind of like, well, I'm still working, I'm still cranking along, and
so it's very, very different this time than last time. So let's answer the question for Jeff, and then I'll go to this because this is a longer story. Yes. I think negativity sells on social media. So I think negativity and fear spreads faster. You have no further evidence than the bank run on Silicon Valley Bank. I spoke to a CEO of a private company who had 100% of their cash at Silicon Valley Bank. I spoke to her on Thursday. She got a phone call the week before, Thursday morning at 6 a.m. saying, somebody they know is taking $4 billion out of the bank. So 8 a.m. bright and early, she takes her money out. What people don't realize is you only had a 6-hour window before the bank was shut off, before wires didn't go out. So what do I mean by that? $42 billion left Silicon Valley Bank in 6 hours because of fear. Fear spreads fast. So that's my first answer, is fear. It doesn't even have to be right fear. It doesn't even have to be, look at all the crash bros and how big they grow. It's that fear sells. People like to see blood in pain. It just fears. The good news doesn't spread very well. So the recovery won't be fast. It's all downside because of social media, the speed. So that's, I think, was Jeff's question. It will not accelerate the return. Nobody likes good news. They all think it's hogwash. So now to your question, Dean. 2008 2006, Olivia and I have 8 houses. We are shopping for our 9th house in the Mayfair district. That's just where we shop. That was our buy box. Nothing makes sense. People are telling me, Michael, stop being so strict. Stop 30-year money. Go get these 2 and 28s. You can print money. You can turn $100 cash flow into 500. You're an idiot. You're a moron. All of these things. I go to a real estate meetup. Again, I go to meetups all the time. I see Bruce Norris, a legendary investor at the time in California. He now lives in Florida. He talks about something called the California crash. He has charts about charts telling me about something I never thought of called the affordability index. I take copious notes. I never assume. I do my own research. I realized Fresno, California at the time is at the lowest affordability ever. This is why I can't buy my 9th house. Everybody is still buy, get these exotic loans, do these things. I take my first house, Norris Drive. I wrote it in my book. It's the first baby I ever had there. And I list it and sell it, get a stupid price. People can go look it up on Zillow. 1818 Norris Drive East, 93703. Bought for 107, sold for 267. Ultimately goes as high as 300. So I sold early, but I sold and took action. So the market went on much further for another year or so. We got out. We 1031 into apartments. So what did it feel like? It felt like everybody was an expert. It felt like single family homes could only go up. It was very unhealthy, and I could see it. I could feel it. Then it rolls over. And again, it rolled over because of debt. The person that bought Norris Drive lost it. You could look it up because it retrades 3 years later at 75 grand. Look it up. 1818 Norris Drive East, 93703. I'm not making this up. It's there on Zillow. Why did he lose it? Well, he held it for 2 years because he was printing cash flow because his debt structure allowed him to. Then it resets and suddenly he has to feed it $1,000 a month. Well, guess what? That doesn't feel very good. So all the 50% of loans start to default and reset. And then the inventory builds and builds. And guess what? Nobody's there. You can go look at a property at 728 North Arthur. I think I bought that property for 40 grand, maybe 38 grand. It's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath in the tower. There's nobody buying because everybody's afraid. I don't know what to tell you. People follow the herd.
So you think it's vastly different. And to tie into the social media part of the question, do you feel like that accelerates the process? Because again,
it accelerates fear.
Yeah.
And it accelerates fear in buyers sitting on the sidelines. The reason I did 2 flips recently is because I got pissed off at the Crash Bros and Yahoo Finance. Yahoo Finance said in late October that 87% of home buyers think it's a bad time to buy. And I'm like, you fucking jackasses. Tell people to do the work and go find their own deals. But they're just telling people to sit on their ass and watch Netflix. I'm like, fuck it. I know it's a great time between Thanksgiving and Christmas to buy a deal. I declared on my channel, I'm going to buy one. Not only did I buy one, I bought 2. They were listed on the MLS for 30% less than list price. I flipped the first one and made 40 grand. I'll flip the next one and make over 50. Thank you, Crash Bros. Thank you, Yahoo Finance. I didn't do mailers. I don't have virtual assistants. I didn't door knock. I fucking looked at the MLS. I don't know what to tell you.
So you're just like, because I see what you're saying, Dean, as far as I'm just thinking about, will it come back sooner? Because everybody says, like, as soon as everybby says, like, hey, it's good to go, then it'll just blow up the market again with like social media.
Good news doesn't spread on social media.
Yeah.
It's only fear. Good news doesn't
I
spread.
feel like Zuber keeps giving. Yeah, I feel like we talk about how there's opportunity out there even now. You know what I mean? And so I agree with Zuber. I think that I don't know that it ramps up faster because of it. I don't know. It's interesting.
So this begs the question: do you think there'll be a next big economic crash? I'm assuming relative to real estate, because you can argue there's so many different markets.
I think he's talking about 1929. He's talking about the Great Depression. So a couple of things. I believe recessions are natural part of the economic. Let me say this. I hope everyone watching this and the three of you experience 4 or 5 recessions in your lifetime. They're not to be avoided. They are not to be feared. They are a natural part of the cleansing process. They have to happen. The fact that we think we can monetize and socially engineer our way out of this, it's just not healthy. It's why forest fires get really bad. When you don't clear out the underbrush, a little lightning strike can create a raging forest fire. So again, I think recessions are natural and need to happen, and we will have one sooner rather than later. I don't think the economy is set up nearly in a way to have a 1929 depression. I don't see a Great Depression. I don't see it. I don't see it. Maybe. I don't see it, though.
How's your war on Twitter going with the Crash Bros?
Sorry?
How's your war on Twitter with the Crash Bros going?
I'm getting dominated.
How are you dealing with Twitter mentally? I thought about getting on there. I just don't want the smoke. I really don't.
I like to fight. I've been in a lot of fights in my life and lost a lot of fights. I don't mind getting hit. But if you're in a fight with me, you're going to know you got hit too. So right now I'm being dominated. Crash Bros are killing me. But I don't give a shit. I've been beat up a lot in my life. I keep swinging.
All right, this is from Dion, Talk Financial Freedom. If you had a crystal ball that worked and you knew prices would be 20% lower in 12 months, would your investing strategies change?
Ooh, so I love that question. But again, I'm going to play with this a little bit. That's only part of the equation. If you told me in a year prices would be down 20%, but interest rates were up 100, I mean, I'd be excited because I'm lucky enough to have cash, but most people would be hurt. What people don't realize, it's always the payment, and the payment is price, interest rate, and wages, right? That's what affordability is. But if let's just assume rates are the same, what would I do different? That's a good question. If I knew with certainty prices would be 20% lower. So first thing I would do is I would adjust my ARVs down because I never stop looking.
Mm-hmm.
I might look at different asset types. I'm actually, you know what I might do? You know what I would do probably, again, just playing with this in real time? I would probably take my most underperforming single family homes that I have today, and I would sell them today, which would raise capital, so that's probably what I would do. If I assumed interest rates are the same, prices were going down, I would list the junk that I really don't want or kind of has hair on it. That would raise my cash pile even more, and I would deploy that later. That's just totally off the top of my head.
Awesome. Yeah, I like that too. All right, here's another good question. What happens in the mid to late 2030s when all the boomers go bye-bye and 42% of the residential housing they hold gets inherited and comes online?
No idea. I'm assuming migration goes up. I'm assuming their kids like money. This boomer analogy is, they're talking about population demise and all these other macro things that lots of things could come in. I can't think that far ahead. I'm worried about 2024, 2025, 2035. Too hard, too far away. I don't waste a second thinking about it.
When are you doing all your research? Because I know you wake up in the morning and do your stuff. Like, are you doing it like that 7 o'clock when you're like really deep diving to old economies?
So my daily routine hasn't changed in about 25 years. I'm up at 5 a.m., no alarm clock. It's ridiculous. I'm up between 4:55 and 5:12 every day. It's mind-boggling how this happens. I have no idea why it happens, but it does. I get up, I turn on the coffee machine, and I start reading. And the thing about my reading that I try to be different than most is I have no idea what I'm going to read that day. Like, I will go to CNBC, clearly, but I could be on MSNBC or CNN or Inman or Speaking Alpha, or I'm all over the place. Because I think anytime you go one direction, you miss stuff.
Yeah.
So I try to purposely see all sides from all. I purposely seek out people like Danielle DiMartino Booth, who I talked about today, because her and I disagree a lot, but she is wicked smart. And I will take her different opinion and challenge myself. I'll steel man the other side. It just makes me better. So I'm hungry for knowledge. I'm hungry to understand this puzzle we call the economy. So every day is a new day to learn.
There's a string of comments here that I was laughing inside my head. So from Cash Flow, Zuber's the only guy I listen to when it comes to the market. He's been through it. Caroline says, passionate today. DCF says, whoa, Zuber's getting spicy.
I figured this is your podcast, so I can swear.
Appreciate. I was gonna say that. Hey, Zuber's on a different podcast today. He can bring it out. Appreciate the passion. Cashflow again says everybody has such a pretty Instagram nowadays. It's all cap. Let's see what else we have here. Good news spreads only on this channel. DCF says never heard him drop an F-bomb before.
Yeah, it's
And
not my not my
cuss.
Zuby with the passion from Shred.
These are all people doing the work, getting deals. We got first deal cards called the golden ticket. Black cards are for next deals. We're sending out deal cards almost every day because people that do the work here are getting it done. So don't be afraid. Do the work.
Same Diev was shocked. Laugh out loud.
Yeah, I don't swear on my podcast, but I'm on your podcast. So
yeah,
I can swear.
Zuby's passionate. That's what I love about him. Awesome. All right. Another one. Zuber, no cap, is a real one. Jeff says, why didn't you buy Norris Drive back at 75K?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. I tried to buy it, but I'm a cheap ass bastard. I tried to buy it at 65. I got outbid.
So did you end up bidding on it? So I don't know this part of it. You bid on it, you didn't get it, but then you bought it at a higher price?
No, so I buy it at 107. I sell it for 265. The guy loses it at 75. It was a foreclosure. Right? My bid was 65 grand. I wanted it. I wanted it, but somebody outbid me.
Right here, Dino. What are your thoughts on rents going into the next 2 years?
That's a good question. So what we're seeing right now, in my opinion, is apartment rents, multifamily is falling as they should. Single family is going up. It just is. It's in most markets. Obviously, there are exceptions. I think rents, generally speaking, could be. They should be flat. People are so rent burdened these days. Over the next 2 years, it would not shock me, nationally speaking, if rents are down 1 or 2%, nationally speaking. But that means some markets are down 10% and some markets are up 5%. But I think rents, again, we had 2 years of appreciation in 10 years. I think we had rent inflation in 2 years for a decade. What we experienced the last 2 years is not healthy for anyone. So my hope is rents are basically flat to slightly down in apartments, but I just don't see it in houses. There's more demand than supply.
You see houses going up.
Yeah, hopefully not a lot, 1 or 2%. But yeah, we've had a lot the last 2 years. It's not normal.
Yeah, rents, prices.
Yes, Fed raised 25. Yes. Sorry.
Hear a live reaction on this, Mike. What are your thoughts on this?
They had to. If the Fed went zero, the stock market would collapse. That means there's something else. What's going to be a lot more interesting is the dot plot in their forward expectations of terminal rate. But they had to go 25. I was 99.9999% sure.
So Fed raise rates, do we think that's going to affect the interest rates? Because we know doesn't necessarily mean
they're not directly connected. Rates moved already. The rates will not be up 25 basis points today. Now that I've said that, I should probably check. That's funny.
Here's another question from Lumberjack Landlord. Would you differentiate small multifamily rent not falling versus large multifamily rent?
That's an excellent caveat. I'm glad he caught that. Yeah, when I was talking multifamily, it was the big stuff. It was apartments side by side, all of that. If you happen to have small duplexes through quads, they're going to act far more like single families. I was talking bigger structures. Yeah. Good caveat. Thank you for the correction.
Mike, I was watching on your channel. You said you were interested in investing in syndications because you're on the tail end of your career.
Yeah,
we can diversify and it's less work.
Yeah, I want to at least understand it. I am to the point where there's an end to my story, right? I'm older than all of you by a lot. And one of the things I will have to eventually do, like one of the most impactful story for my second book was the 80-year-old who was selling out of her portfolio. She basically said, have you ever met a 70-year-old who did a good job of managing? And the answer is no. We've all bought from that guy or that lady. So I think one of the things Olivia and I should do is look about how do we gracefully exit. And one of the things I don't know about is syndication. So I'm going to go spend a couple of grand with somebody I trust, who's one of my millionaires, Jonathan Twombly. And I'm going to go get around a bunch of syndicators and go learn some stuff. I'm interested. I don't know that I will, but I realize I have a gap in my knowledge.
That's a very good point, though, as far as I don't know any 70-year-old landlords who are really pumping and crushing and operating it the right way.
They don't have to, right?
Even when
raise
you sell.
rents, they don't do maintenance. The property's depreciated to zero. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'm closer to 70 than all of you. So something to think about for me.
So overall, what do you think is going to happen to the economy now? Does anything change now that the Fed did raise the rate? Anything massive?
So I think what happened today is we got one step closer to the terminal rate. I personally believe, gun to head, there's one more raise and then we're done. I think that is what the market has been hungry for, is the terminal rate. We've been all over the map. I mean, just 7 or 10 days ago, people were talking about 6 and 6.5. BlackRock, the largest manager of money in the world, had the balls to come out and say the Fed's going to 6, which I said the very next day they're being idiots and morons and yanked by Powell. It just wasn't possible. But we're almost there. I think one more. Could they pause? Absolutely. I'm going to go out on record saying we got one more quarter and we're done. Then we start to have pain. We start to recognize pain. We start to have write-offs. We start to have a recession. We got to pay for the sins of the last 2 years. It's going to suck. Unemployment's going to go up. My guess is 4.5. We have to have, the next year, 18 months is going to be rough. The good news is bad times never last. Good times never last. But the funny thing that people don't realize is bad times are, generally speaking, short. Bad times, if you go back in history, rough and tough 2 years.
Yep.
Good times are a decade.
Yep.
We're just entering a bad time. It's okay. I hope you experience 5 of them. It means you lived a long time. I hope you, like, if you only experience one recession in your life, you lived a very short life, and I'm sorry for you. It's okay. They're natural. So I wish all of you have 4 or 5 recessions. They are okay. They should not be feared. They are natural part of the business cycle.
So I kind of want to recap some of the things that I heard and make sure I heard them right and get some of your feedback, whether it's confirmation, adjustment. So starting out is single family over the next 12 months. Your prediction is that it's going to stay and remain strong in the entry level price point.
I don't know what you mean by strong. It's going to be stable. It's not going down. Yeah.
Right. That's more or less considering the rest of the economy and kind of the thoughts on it. Multifamily, you see opportunities based on debt structure that people grabbed over the past handful of years. The rubber's meeting the road and they're not able to refinance out. They're upside down. You think there's opportunities coming in multifamily, commercial, office space, stuff like that.
Amen.
Okay. Interest rates. You think interest rates might continue to go up, but they need to go down to stabilize the market?
No, I think we've seen the peak. I don't see us getting up to 7.25. I think the peak was like 7.18, something like that in the last 6 months. I think we're below 7 all year. I actually think we end the year below 6. That's 30-year fixed, owner occ, 20% down, best credit. But yeah.
So you think you think the rest of the year will kind of hover around that 7, high 6s maybe?
I think we end the year below 6.
Okay. Awesome. Banks, what do you see on the horizon for banks? Do you just see a domino effect here? Looking back at the 08 crash with all of what happened there, or what do you think is going to happen here?
So this is probably a hope. I'm going to call this a hope. My hope is we probably have 3 to 5 more notable names get taken out. And I don't think they get taken out like Silicon Valley Bank or Signature. I think there's a shotgun to their head and says, you got to get bought. I don't think we have another FDIC takeover. I think we have forced marriages. Like, hey, you got my daughter pregnant. You better marry her or I'm going to kill you kind of discussions. That's what I think is going to happen. So I think we have 3 to 5 more of those. But generally speaking, you know, I think we this gets behind us, I think. And again, I'm going to call that more of a hope because I'm not really sure what I think just yet. But that's my hope.
You think there's the chances of any sort of black swan event, the banks just explode and there's
Always.
just mass destruction?
Always. There's always a black swan. That's stuff I don't see coming. Always.
Yeah.
Always possible.
A couple other things here. So you see unemployment going up.
Yes.
And you think it's necessary. I saw going back, I think it was
It's
Ned
an
Talk.
unfortunate outcome of what we have to do.
Yeah. I think Ned Talks had said up above, I'm scrolling to look for it. He had said that all these tech jobs are getting gobbled up by blue collar America. It says we're hiring. Blue collar America is snapping up all the tech talent.
I agree.
Blue collar businesses who are finally going to update their software and web presence is off the charts.
I agree. That's what I kind of said is like a lot of people I know, not a lot. I know people impacted. They had a job in 3 days for less money, but a job. This theater with Amazon and Meta and all this other nonsense is the media just trying to scare you. Folks, people like fear. It's clicks and ad revenue. See Crash Bros for an example.
Yeah, no question. What else do you see happening? What else do you see happen in the economy? What do people need to be thinking about? Is any of this in your control? Like, should you be changing your investment strategies accordingly, or should you just continue heads down?
Oh, there's a lot in that question. So there's a couple of things. So I was lucky enough to be asked to speak at a real estate meetup in Southern California in August. So I'm going to put this to you 3 right now. So let's pretend it's August 2022. And if you don't remember August 22, you guys were still killing it. It was still good. Rates were relatively still low. I'm in front of these people, 200 heavy hitters. We're talking 7 figures and above. That's who I'm in front of. So I get on stage, normal Zuber, and I say, take out a piece of paper and write down all the things you did the last year to kill it and make 7 figures. So first and foremost, these guys don't know me from Adam, so they don't know what the hell to do. So I'm like, you motherfuckers, get out a piece of paper and write down why you all the big ballers are in this fucking room. Write it down. So they finally get out paper. They start writing it down. I'm pacing on stage. I'm making an ass of myself on stage. So 5 minutes later, they're done. I say, great, congratulations. Now I want you to wrinkle that up, that piece of paper, and throw it away because the next 12 months aren't going to be like the last 12. And if you don't change right now, you are going to lose your ass. Some of those people, I just talked to one of them an hour before this call, did not change, and he's losing his ass. I should have listened to you. Same deal. If you don't change and the market does, it's your problem. It's not the market's problem. It's your problem. The market is going to be different. A recession is different. If you don't change, that's on you. Either be an adult or be a little bitch. It is your call.
We need to throw that up on screen.
Yeah.
I'm gonna create that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bro, create the streamer across the bottom. Breaking news.
Yeah. So again, the market's going to be different. And the people that change and pivot, Jason and I talk every other Sunday. We had a heart-to-heart. Like, Jason, you got to get smaller. You got to get tighter. Stop going so far. Stop going above the median. Why are you rolling the dice? He changed. He's freaking killing it. Other people that didn't, not so much.
Yep.
Awesome. Any last questions you guys can think of? I mean, this has been awesome for me. I'm super excited. I got to give you a shout out too. I've been dying to do it the whole time, Zuber. Guys, I'm telling you right now, if you haven't gotten the book One Rental at a Time right now, it is literally the equivalent of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but telling you exactly what to do to acquire rentals. It is that easy of a read. It is that straightforward and simple. When I read it, I was like, dude, this is awesome. Good job. Like, super props. It's incredibly hard to take your thoughts and put them down to make it easy for someone to understand. So what you've done with your community, I think we're all super excited for you. And major props, man. So go
Thank
check
you.
out
Thank you
One
for the
Rental at a Time if
opportunity.
you guys haven't. Yeah. Any
Go
last questions?
subscribe
for
to
you
his
guys?
YouTube channel. Go subscribe
Yeah.
to the man's YouTube channel. I watch it every day.
Thank you.
Zeno is going to learn about finance from Michael Zuber, essentially. I
Nice.
have it playing on my laptop in the mornings.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, when I need some updated financial news, that's where I go to, because I'm like, I'm not going to go invest my time trying to find someone else that knows what they're actually talking about, because I just don't know who they are, right? So I just go to the one place.
Nice. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
You got anything, Jason?
No, I'm good, man. Zuber, thank you so much for coming on. Wealth of knowledge, as usual. This stuff is really, really impactful for the audience, man. So we appreciate you, buddy.
Awesome. Thanks for the opportunity. I'll come back anytime.
Yeah. And reminder for everybody, thank you so much for watching the Deal Champs podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure for us to bring on special guest Michael Zuber today. You guys can check him at One Rental at a Time. Of course, if you guys want to connect with us on social media, you can find me at Dean Rogers Real Estate, Jason Pritchard at Jason Pritchard, and Stratton Brown at Strat Daddy. If you guys want to connect with us on other social media platforms, you guys can go to YouTube. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts in the near future. Make sure if you're listening there to leave us a 5-star review. And lastly, if you guys have a deal, you want it to be highlighted on the Deal Champs podcast, make sure to go to deanrogers.com/podcast. Takes you right to a Google form where you can fill out your deal. It's got to be a deal that you've closed, money in the bank that we can talk about. Till next time, guys, we can't wait till the next one. Appreciate all the engagement. It's been super fun for us. Caroline says, thanks for all the spice.
Spicy today.
Yeah, no, we love it. So appreciate everybody's engagement, and we look forward to seeing you guys next time. Peace.
Later.
Bye, guys.